we've created a setup here. We've got the reds that are playing out from the back. We've got the blue team that are pressing against the playing out from the back scenario. We've set ourselves up with the blue team in a 1-4-3-3 formation, and likewise the red team in a 1-4-3-3 formation. Now, we're going to work with the blue team and just start the process of understanding what the considerations we have to make when we are pressing from the front. So if we look at just what we might see in a standard setup where we have the fullbacks going wide and slightly high, and then we've got the 5 and 6 in the red team, that the two central defenders that are dropping in. So we can see that happening on the pitch. Okay, so first consideration that we have to make is, what do we want the team to do? So we talk about playing out from the back, and what does that actually mean? Playing out from the back doesn't necessarily mean playing it to the 5 or 6 or the 3 or 2. It can mean playing to any player. So it could be short, it could be medium, or it could be long. So we have to figure out what we want. Now, if we feel that we've got a great chance of winning the ball high up the pitch, then we have to encourage the ball to be played short. So if we go, and this is sometimes a mistake that's made by teams, is if we go high press right at the start, then it's going to encourage the goalkeeper to not play these because it's quite challenging and risky, and they'll go long. So then we would ask ourselves, have we actually succeeded in what we want to? So it's important that we encourage, if we want them to play out short and try and win the ball high up the pitch, that we allow for them to think that they have time and space. Now, in this instance, we've just had the 7 and 11 that are almost picking up the red 2 and the red 3. So we can see it here. So now we've got a problem with the 9. So the 9's kind of in the center of the pitch, and what that means, this is the first thing we need to think about. So what's the 9's role? The highest player up the pitch in your team to be able to start the process of the press, not necessarily the one who's going to win the ball. But this player is quite important because we need to understand what's happening in the game. What attributes do the opposition have? And this is why it's important to note that one size does not fit all. And you may have a structure that you set up with your players every single time, but inevitably that isn't going to work every single time, because in each game we have teams with players who have got different attributes. So for instance, the red 5 could be right-footed. So if the red 5 is right-footed predominantly, then it would, and the red 6 is right-footed, then it would stand to reason that it may be more challenging for the red 5 to play out on their left foot. But if we stay central to the goalkeeper, then the goalkeeper has options to play either right or left. And if they're quite smart and have got good game intelligence, they'll say, well, actually, this is the player I favour, and I'm going to play it to them because I think that's where we'll get the most success. Now, based on just having some lateral movement from your centre forward, now creates a different picture. So we're looking at the red 6. Is the red 6 confident enough to be able to get on the ball against the pressure? Because we've got the 11 who's quite tight to the 2, so that's going to be a difficult pass. We've got the 3 and the 7 occupied. Obviously, there's a 3v3 in midfield, even though we're aware that the red 4 at the moment has got some type of space. But straight away, in the first instance, we're thinking about how can this player influence what we do? Because there's quite a lot of other things that have to click into place to be able to actually end up winning the ball. But by having this movement, I'm probably going to favour playing out to this player, even though there's still a lot of space, but playing out to this player. So that's potentially success number 1. So the ball's passed. Yes, they have some space to move into, but we've now started to dictate the game purely just based on the position of this player. And then if we kind of split the pitch in half, we want to possibly stop the ball getting back into this area, and we want to encourage this player to move here. And this is where we can start to be influenced by other players around us. So point number one, the 9, your centre forward, has created an opportunity to force the ball into this area. And then if we look at the 7, there's a lot of space to play here. The 4 is obviously free in this situation, but we do have 3v3 in midfield, so there's no issues with, again, really important to think about is this doesn't have to be a set structure where the 4 always has to be deep, because the game's always evolving and you have to be adaptive. So your 4 could quite easily go tight to the red 4, and then that option doesn't become available. But 2 things can start to happen. We can start to see the 9, number 1, has forced the play into this area, then can start, as the ball's being moved out, can start to come across, and now we're creating a bit more of an enclosed area to force this player into these areas. Again, then thinking about the role of the 7, if they now come inside the pitch and deeper, can now see that there are some problems, because we've gone from, for the opposition, and we've gone from, so this is successful for the blue team. So we've actually gone from them being able to play out anywhere to now closing the pitch off and forcing this player into these areas here. Now the options, player can travel in, but we've now got player coming here, and we're now closing this area. They can pass the ball to the 3, but as that's traveling, then we can now get tight. And if we think about it, from how this ripples out to your teammates, you can now see 2v2 game, can put this player under pressure. So I can start to, as that was happening, I can start to get closer. And now there's real problems. So again, thinking about where we've come from the opposition being able to play anywhere to now being forced into this outside channel almost. So that all started, again, we haven't even focused on the midfield 3, but that has all started by the positioning of your centre forward. So by positioning themselves right, or in a way that can start to shift the control of the game into your hands, even though the opposition have the ball, then you can start to solve problems and create areas to win the ball back. Remember that when you're out of possession, you want to try and force the ball into an area, make the area, so the size of the pitch, you want to close off areas of the pitch and compact the pitch and reduce the size of the area you're working in. So here we've done it. There's a 2v2. If we come across, there's a 3v3 game. So we've gone from an 11v11 game to now a 3v3 game when this player comes in. And we're working in this area of the pitch. So we've gone from having to look after the whole area of the pitch to now just enclosing the play into this area, purely and simply by how the 9 influences the goalkeeper to force the ball one way.